Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news. And welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues that matter most to our public schooling families with the good Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute. And Ralph, one of the great debates from this year-long COVID pandemic has been the impact that this has had on our school kids. And allegedly, this $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan is going to go a long way toward getting our schools back open. But 2/3 of the money for schools in that plan doesn't even kick in for another 2 years. So as my kids would say, Ralph, what's up with that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you could hear me laughing while you were introducing that topic, because it is really a joke. In my mind, the schools that want to open are open. And many of the schools fortunately have already received some money from the first go-round of a rescue plan that was put out earlier. So they are using that money to help, reimburse some of the costs that they've had. And many of the schools in our listening area are open fully and are doing fine. And I think the big controversy, as we've said before, is in the big cities where the teachers' unions are just saying, almost, it doesn't matter how much money you give us. We don't want to open, and we're not.
Yeah.
So schools in our area are doing fine.
Yeah. One of the other consequences of online, virtual, hybrid learning is just the loss of learning in our country today. There's not a lot of it, or not as much of it, going on. Kentucky is considering a bill that would let high schoolers repeat a grade because of this learning loss. Is that something New York and Pennsylvania should be looking at?
Again, I don't know if you can hear me laughing or not, but I looked that up, and what it really, and this is just my opinion, I think what's really happening is that the parents of juniors and seniors in high school are really interested in having their sons or daughters be athletically eligible for another year of sports, and so they're really pushing that hard. I don't see any point in allowing students to repeat a grade. I can't imagine how many students would really want to do that, and I don't know really how many parents would want their students to do that, other than for the reason that I mentioned, having to do with sports.
Yeah.
So I hope that New York and Pennsylvania don't even look at that.
Yeah, and one superintendent was saying, hey, if you're going to do that, it's in the younger ages, like first, second grade, where that would matter, not high school. So, well, we're talking high school, Ralph. A lot of kids about to graduate. It's been anything but normal for the last year and a half for them. They're really looking forward to that in-person graduation ceremony in June or in May, if you're listening in Pennsylvania. Do you think that will happen this year?
I really do. Looking back to last year, in fact, many of the schools did plan outdoor graduations, and I think for all the schools that I'm aware of, that went really well, and I would assume that they'll do that again. I would just suggest that they add a rain date so that they have that on the calendar as well, but outdoor for sure for graduation this coming May or June.
All right. It's been a few days since the great Dr. Seuss debate. Don't know if you're drinking the Seuss juice or not, Ralph, but that was a huge debate earlier this month, and we haven't had you comment on it yet. But, there's concern. And good people can agree to disagree on this, but there's concern that several Dr. Seuss books, whether intentionally or not, perpetuated racial stereotypes. With that argument in hand, how should Christians counter the cancel culture in our schools?
Well, they should certainly be aware of what's going on in their local school. I did hear of some people are saying that the past administration canceled the Iran deal and ISIS, and the current administration has taken to canceling Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. And the other day, I even heard they're talking about canceling Dumbo. This is a good time for people to consider running for their local school board, because the board has input on every book that's used in the curriculum in their school.
Yeah,
so check it out.
And that's a great plug because you have information on how you can do that. Hey, if you don't like what's happening in your local school, be proactive, not reactive. And there's information on your website, Ralph, about that. Where can folks find you?
That's simply yrun.org, yrun.org.